Hey everybody, welcome back to a new episode of Gravity Well News Update. And yes, today I have a whole bunch of changes that I did to the Gravity Well map. So people probably noticed it looks substantially different than the last time we looked at it, but today's episode will also be covering the Marianas Trench, or Discovery Ridge, the deepest point on the planet, and why it's so deep, and why I think it ended up where it is. So if anyone's wondering where that is, I think it's around here. Or is it Discovery Ridge? Let's take a look at it here. Discovery Ridge. Now, so what happened was, hey Shelly, how's it going? Discovery Ridge. Why is it not giving me the option? Fucking piece of shit, man. God, that's really annoying. Like, I'm supposed to be able to just type it in and it should go there, and it's not coming up on the list. Alright, so I'll have to look up another name for it. I just looked it up like a couple days ago, and that search brought it up no problem. So I don't know why it's not. That's actually really pissing me off, man. Alright, forget that. I'll try to find out the other name for it so I can look it up. Marianas Trench? If anyone knows how to spell that. Oh, there it is. Mariana Trench. For some reason, it would not come up in the Google search today. Although I just did it all week and it came up no problem. That's what she said. Yeah, there it is. Challenger Deep. Oh, that's why. Challenger Deep, not Discovery Ridge. I don't know why I was calling it Discovery Ridge. Maybe another space shuttle reference. Anyway, so the Mariana Trench, or Challenger Deep, is the deepest part in the entire ocean. And can anyone guess why? I know scientists have been trying to guess why for a long time, but no one's been able to guess why. So I don't know, if anyone wants a little clue as to guess why, we'll get to the answer later, but you can check here. This is the clue as to why. And I'll make it even more obvious. The yellow line is the reason why the Marianas Trench is so deep. Yeah, so anyways, let's get on to the cube updates before we get to why the Marianas Trench is so deep. We'll try to save that for the end of the show. Now, one of the weird things I noticed when I was making this map is that I started to see cubes jump out at me. I don't know if anyone sees the cube. It's like a three-dimensional cube. There's the outline. Here's one of the center points of the cube. So I don't know, these three-dimensional cubes that you can see on the map, I started to count how many of them there are. So you got one here in the Atlantic, so I call that the Atlantic cube. Then you have one that's over the Holy Land, which I call that the Holy Land cube. It's kind of neat because the one corner is basically Israel, right? No, in Mecca, like the Muslim faith, they have that Mecca place, and it's also a cube, which made me wonder, because it is very close to the cube. Anyways, let's get to the next cube. There's also one in Japan, so you have the Japan cube. And then the last one on this part of the globe is you got the British Columbia or west coast of Canada cube. And then obviously if you flip the globe upside down, then you'll have a whole nother row of cubes. One above Australia, one over the, what is that, east coast of South Africa. Then you have the Argentina cube. And then the one that's just in the middle of the Pacific. Is that the Pacific? Yeah. Or no, that's the Atlantic. Or no, Indian. Keep getting the oceans mixed up. Anyways, yeah, so that's where the other cube is. And then in total, that gave me 8 cubes. So I was like, holy shit. I looked up 8 cubes to see if I could find anything. And there's a whole field of physics called 8 cube spheres. I forget, I'll have to look it up again. But anyways, yeah, these 8 cubes are actually a normal part of science. So I was like, holy shit, these 8 cubes are pretty wild. But then when I started counting them even more, I realized these cubes don't just go sideways with the equator, but they also go the opposite direction. So we'll check out some of the other cubes today. So here's another look at the same cube in Argentina, just on a different perspective, like the side cube version of it. Then you have a cube that's in between the side of that one. That cube I find very interesting. Let me see. Yeah, because this cube is very neat location. But anyways. Yeah, so we can start to see the other locations of the other cubes. So I thought that was interesting that at first I noticed the cubes just like at the normal globe rotation. But then I was like, oh shit, there's actually more than one way of looking at these cubes. Like you can just turn the globe, it's a sphere, right? So the other thing I did working on the map is these cross beams that go through the cube's bottom. I was having issues. I couldn't get the beams to line up properly. Because the way this map works, each line is supposed to be perfectly straight. Like there's no bend in it at all. It's just like the equator. But in order to get these blue lines to match with the bottom of the cube, I had to slightly incline it, which fucking pissed me off. I didn't want to. I wanted to keep the line perfectly straight. But it had to bend for each of those cube points. The only reason I was thinking that it should be okay to bend it a little bit is because when I noticed the actual real equator, it actually bends at some points too. So I don't know if it's something to do with Google Earth or what it is, but for some reason we're not able to draw perfectly straight lines around the globe without some sort of bend at some point. I don't know why. It's a fucked up thing. So if anyone's good at drawing on globes, this pattern is supposed to work out without the bend in this line. So it's kind of pissing me off where the bend came from. And it's funny because I don't even have to bend it by much. It's just a hair of a bend. But I still want the line to be perfectly straight. So I'll have to try to solve that part. But it's nice. I figured I might as well make the map with the bend in it so I can see what it's supposed to look like when it's working. So yeah, eventually I bet you the line will end up matching with those islands. Because usually that's how those lines end up working, as you can see on the equator. The equator point lines, or any lines in general, usually have like some sort of ridge on the bottom of the ocean that'll line up with it. It's funny because the same occurrence happens on Mars. So we could say that it's just an occurrence on the Earth, but no. Even Mars's equators have giant ridges on the bottom that are lining up with them. Lining up with the lines. So anyways, I figured that's what I would share, some of the updates. Why each of the maps have all these circles on them. I'm going to have to color code the circles and make them match Perry Reese's map. I don't know, I'll see if I can bring it up on the screen. The original ancient people that used to work with these type of maps, well that was close. It always has to open it up on the screen that I don't want the viewers to see, and then that's the one it'll open it on every fucking time. It's almost like clockwork. Anyways. So the original ancient map, the guy who was making these type of maps, he actually, oh fuck, come on, just open it where I want. Damn. He decided to draw the orb points as different ones for each like larger size ones that have these weird patterns of lines that intersect around them, and then ones that go right into the orb. And then just basic ones. So I'll have to take my map and adapt these, like, I think they called them wind roses. So I'll have to adapt the windrows so it actually matches the color coding system that the ancients used. And if anyone's wondering if my map actually does make these weird line patterns around an orb in some cases, I think that's where the bend is. So if I don't bend those points where it reaches in and makes it look more uniform, it'll end up forming this instead. So maybe I should actually not bend it and form this type of line pattern. But dear God, it's way harder. So I'll stick with just bending it for now, and then maybe I'll get to making these style after. Now it's always finding it funny. In the olden days, they used to use these wind roses, and they always matched the lines. So I don't understand why we kept putting these wind roses on modern maps, even though they don't match lines anymore. It's kind of funny. Or in some cases they do, like at the equator. Or not the equator, the North and South Pole. Anyway, so yeah, that's the type of orbs that I'll have to replace these styles with. And as you can see, that's probably going to take a few weeks, if not months, for me to change them all. So that's one of the updates I'm working on. Oh yeah, and I was going to say, if viewers... Oh God, the chat behind you is misplaced and your mic is so deep. No, what it is I just woke up. So my voice is legitimately super deep right now. I'll try turning down the deepness of it. Normally I try to wait like at least an hour before I podcast so that I don't sound like a Barry Manilow or whatever those deep voice guys are. Oh yeah, and the chat is off-centered. Let me fix that. Thanks, Shelly. I don't get it. For some reason the chat's really fucked. God damn it. Here, let me try to transform. Reset transformation. There we go. Now that's one hardest part with podcasting, is trying to get your voice good before you go to podcast. Normally the trick is don't drink, don't smoke, do it in the middle of the day so your voice isn't all fucked up. But today I was just kind of tired and I wanted to do it anyway, so I'm like, fuck it. Let's just record and see how it turns out. I don't know, so the gravity well map, I don't know if anyone else has heard lately. Let's see if I saved the picture of it. I probably didn't. Fuck. God's sakes. Alright, so what happened is I was trying to explain to people one of the most recent experiments that I could do to like just show you how this gravity well map could actually be showing gravity. I don't even know if that's the force yet. So what I'll do is I'll show you a normal science experiment that they do in like chemistry class, I think in grade 9 or 10. And this same experiment actually can show you what this could be showing. Iron filing experiment. Yeah, there it is. I can't show the video versions, but I'll just show, here it is. Okay. Holy shit. That's not a very good example. Let me bring out a better one. Here it is. Alright, so in chemistry class, they give you a magnet, and then they take iron filings, and they give them to you, and they're like, hey, put the two together and see what happens. So you can see with iron filings and a magnet, magnetic fields, or the energy waves from the magnetism, actually end up bending the iron filings to make line patterns. So we can see this idea of like energy fields bending things around them and like lines is actually quite common, especially with magnetism. And it turns out with science, that's what they've been trying to do for years, is they realize that gravity and magnetism are somewhat related, but they can't figure out how and why. So yeah, that's what I was thinking. This experiment here, it's actually a good indicator of how my map works. And I'll show you why. Now obviously you can see, if you zoom out, you start to see that there's lines that are mapping the edge of the continents. So this is sort of like the iron filings with the magnet, how it's like actually affecting it. And then another way you can see is each orb point, just like the iron filings, it's pushing things away. So I don't know why it does that, but you can see it did it on the Great Lakes. It used to line up with the Hudson Bay, but for some reason it shifted. And then that's more of the information we'll get to the Marianas Trench. So here's the Gulf of Mexico. It pushed all the land away. Even around the equator, it pushed all the land away. This one, it pushed all the land away. This one. You can keep going, and the only rare exceptions is like the South Pole and one spot in Russia. But I'll show you what happened in the Russia one. Yeah, we can see it even shaped the bottom of India, shaped the continent like that. It really drastically affected our North Pole. That's why the North Pole has no land. The orb at the top has pushed all the land away from it. So you can see if you go like really far back in the past, what the North Pole used to look like. I'll show you. And people might think this map is funny, but even despite me making it, it actually matches what the Pangea models are. So they actually believe that the planet used to look like this. So you can see beforehand, here I'll put before and after. For some reason, this land here used to be here connecting, but it got crushed over this way. Almost like something smashed through here, right? Turns out this orb point for our North Pole, it travels. And when it travels, it goes up here, along here, and boom, in and around there. So isn't it weird how the magnetic pole shift or whatever, or the North Pole shift, track matches where the continent got smashed. So I always found that interesting. And it's also deepest. Wherever it's the deeper point is where the orb has moved. So if anyone's wondering when our old ice age was, like back in the ice age days, that's when the North Pole is at this point. Then all of a sudden everything here is fucking frozen in ice age. And everything in England was actually frozen in ice age too. That's why, because the North Pole moved here. So it's nice when the North Pole moves back there, then we don't have to worry about the fucking ice age anymore, because it's back in the normal spot. So I don't know, I found that pretty interesting. Oh yeah, let's check out the orb points and how they pushed the land away, pushed it away there. Here's the, what is it, France point. You can see that this Bay of Biscay is actually matching where it got pushed away. Now there is some in the Mediterranean Sea, so I was wondering if those ones were responsible for the sea being where it is. And I'll show you why. Alright, so there's that one in England. You can see the one in Africa in the desert. It couldn't push all the land away, but it appears to have influenced the formation of the desert. So maybe that's why the desert is there. They're always trying to explain why the desert's there. So that could be why, because the fucking gravity well that's pushing all the land away is pushing all the fucking life away and just leaving a desert. So then there's that one under the tip of Africa. But anyways, when it comes to the one in Russia, let's see. Here it is. You can see there's another, well, one in Central Asia. What do you know? Another fucking desert. But anyways, the big one that's in Russia, and you think, oh, there should be a giant Great Lake here if this theory was really true. Zoom in, look what you find. This region is centralized and just like tons of water everywhere. And it even wraps around it. So I think that's kind of funny, right? So it might not be a Great Lake here, but it's definitely pushing the land away right down to the water. It's funny. Yeah, this bay also. Yeah, so if anyone's wondering where they live, why there's a bay, there's chances are if you live near a bay, it's probably because a gravity well field has been shaping it. Alright, so we're getting close to why the Marianas Trench is where it is. Or at least my theory as to why. Alright, so let's hit up the vape. No, thanks Shelly, I appreciate it. Now I'm hoping one day that I can refine this information to make it into some sort of presentable feature that will apply to like interest all ages. So I hope it's not just like 50-year-old Freemasons or that are always the ones watching this. Because I'm pretty sure like younger generations would benefit it from more. Because I'm pretty sure if Freemasons just share this information, they'll keep it secret and then they'll exploit it for money. Not to say that they shouldn't, because everyone needs money, but I kind of like to make the information free for everyone, so no one has to pay for any fucking college degree in order to learn about it. And hopefully we can adapt this technology to something to help mankind in the future. That'd be sweet. I know it's a pretty ambitious legacy, but hey, I've got nothing about this or video games to work on, so I like to mix the two occasionally. Can't just be doing one thing all the time. Alright, so as you can see that little trench here at the North Pole, let's remove the blue lines. This one here tends to match because of the whole formation of this, right? That's why I'm kind of surprised that we don't have another arch here. But I think technically we do, because this is kind of like an arch in a way, right? So maybe that explains why, what is this called? The Strait of Gibraltar is where it is, because it's making that second arch on the other side of the arc of the pole. Yeah, really the arc should be here. That's what it should be. Oh yeah, it somewhat has it right there. I don't know if there's a mountain chain that goes across there. Probably, right? So anyways, this side is at least very visible, so we can see why. Now I was thinking, most people have heard of this theory before. I'll just summarize it quick in case anyone hasn't. There's different theories about how Pangea worked and why the planet started like the land moving around, why it just didn't stay in one spot. Some people think it's just volcanic activity that creates it, so that's why it's like shifting and moving around. And then other people, like ancient theories, have like one where the Earth like rapidly transformed. It didn't gradually shift over millions of years. It actually like molded into shape quickly, and then it hasn't changed much. And then there's another theory that says that the Earth's shape, like the size of it, was actually used to be way smaller. And as time has gone on, the Earth keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's where like the hollow Earth theory comes in. They think if the Earth was actually growing bigger and bigger and bigger, eventually the inside would have to become hollow, right? Hey, Ruben joined the chat. How's it going, man? So I'm personally on the theory that I believe that the Earth did grow over time, and just because of how looking at this map, and it explains the Marianas Trench as well. So you can see where the arc here bends with that line. It's pretty much illustrating where the pole has been. So if you took the shape of the Earth and made it smaller, like shrank it, all of a sudden this pole spot from here to here would be a smaller distance because the planet had shrunk. So if you like zoom out, and I'll just take off the yellow lines for a sec to make it easier. You can see, so this distance from here to here matches the current size of the planet, but if you measure the distance from here to here, this is the same size of the planet, but when it's smaller. So if you shrank the planet by like 20% smaller, all of a sudden the distance from here to here would match the size of the planet. So I was like, holy shit, if the Earth was like expanding, wouldn't all of a sudden one of these new ridges form for each time it grew in size? So then we can see here, by looking at the ridge patterns, that the planet has been getting smaller and smaller and smaller every time you go back in the past. And then also this shift here, see how it's like all of a sudden there's ridges here. So it's like it went smaller, 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 and then the whole planet shifted, and then it went smaller, smaller. So I was like, holy shit. If you take that little pattern and follow each one of these to the smaller and smaller points, guess where it ends up? Because you're thinking like this is the planet's size changing, right? So if there was a place at the very end of this chain, it should be the deepest point because it's the part where everything changed the most. And lo and behold, where does the Marianas Trench land up? right where the deepest or oldest ridge point is. So I was thinking, if this really proved that that's how big the Earth's size was when it first formed, then it would have to be the deepest point on the Earth. And then it just so happens it is. So I don't know if that's a coincidence or if that really proves that the Earth had actually been growing and changing in size. Here's another one for the shift. You know how you take an orange peel and it's attached to an orange? You can't spin the orange on the inside because it's connected to the orange peel. Well, imagine you took the orange peel and broke the connection in between. So you could just spin the inside of the orange and the shell or the peel on the outside would be like spinning. So now take that theory, if there was actually fucking a peel to the Earth that was able to shift and the core would stay in the same spot. So picture an earthquake, or not an earthquake, a very deep volcano coming from the center of the Earth, splurting up through the crust and then exploding and making a whole track of islands. So if the crust started spinning, then all of a sudden that fissure that was coming through to the crust would all of a sudden be in a new location because the peel had shifted. So we see that with Hawaii. Hawaii, the fissure was coming up and creating the islands. And as the peel or the skin of the Earth has shifted, you can see that's the line where all of a sudden this is where the volcano used to be. So I knew this from Canada because my house up north is actually in the same situation. I'll show you. If you look here, where is it? The giant volcano, the remains of it. Fuck, man. I hate it when the map is like slightly spun sideways. Makes it so hard to find. There we go. So there's Timmins. There's my place. So if you look at the volcano, here's the volcano here. And that's actually where my camping picture is from up north when I go camping on the volcano. My house is actually right over here. But anyways, my condemned house that I can't live in until I fix it, which I hope one day. But anyways, so this volcano, it turns out the volcano location here has also shifted. Used to be over here, used to be over here, used to be over here. So it's like we see that this shift or peel moving actually has evidence around our volcanoes, even on Ontario. You can see that the location for them moves depending on how much the Earth has shifted. So I was thinking it's neat that the volcano on Hawaii pretty much went in a straight line, like the peel shifting straight for a long, long time. But at one point, it took a drastic 90-degree turn. So I don't know why that drastic 90-degree turn happened. It's like the Earth was shifting on the peel and all of a sudden it moved 90 degrees. But whatever caused it, you can see the evidence. So this is where the volcano originally began, when the Earth first formed, I imagine. And then over time it shifted and the peel has moved. And we see this evidence for a 90-degree shift in multiple spots on the Earth. Like here, you can see it was going gradual, all of a sudden 90-degree shift. So now it was there. Same with this one. The pole was dragging and dragging and dragging. At one point there was a 90-degree shift. So wherever in history that 90-degree shift happened, probably was something to do with the Earth size changing. So I think that's why you get a lot of the ocean ridge lines that don't actually match the current shape of the Earth, because the Earth has changed over the years. Alright, so I think that's pretty much all the information that I got really to explain right now why the Marianas Trench is where it is and how it relates to the Earth's size changing. I don't know, it's a pretty wild theory that the Earth actually changed in size, but that's the one that explains this. Like why the Hudson Bay one wouldn't be here. If you took the Earth and shrank it smaller, all of a sudden this would be there. So that's why I was thinking, yeah, that's probably why that this doesn't match up with Hudson Bay anymore. It's because the planet actually did grow. Oh yeah, and you know what's another weird thing about this? You see how the North Pole on Earth has no land, but the South Pole does? Sort of like opposites on a magnet. it turns out Mars has the same situation, except the poles are reversed, where the North Pole has land and the South Pole is just a big gap of nothing, or just water, or when it used to have water. Here, I'll show you what I mean. You can actually look at Mars with this now. Yeah, so Mars' North Pole is the one that has no land. Oh wait, I should turn the land back on. Forgot. It's nice. There's actually a thing here for Mars that I can change, so we can see all the layers of Mars where it used to be water. Oh fuck, where did I put it on this now? Oh, there it is. Now it's funny because I could have swore I had one where the actual top was filled in, and for some reason I lost that. It really sucks, man. I'll have to try to find it again. If anyone has the KMZ files or KMZ files for Mars, just let me know. It's like I had them all really working great, and then I fucking fixed my computer or switched computers, and I didn't get the right files over. It's fucking annoying. Yeah, so this one won't show it. Well, anyways, if it did show it, I'd be able to show you. Fuck, I can't believe they left out the poles. Sons of bitches, man. Oh well. Go figure, eh? But no, as you can see, like the equator on Mars, it has the exact same features where it's like a giant trench going out to the equator. And it's weird how even the volcanoes match up to it. I haven't actually looked at the cube version on Mars yet, so this is a first for me. See, this is where you can see the cube in the Atlantic between Europe and North America, if it was Earth. Now, it's fucked up how similar the Mars is to Earth, and then now I started to realize why. It's because the same gravity well pattern that shapes the planets. Even the moon is shaped similar. Now I was thinking a lot of the craters on Mars match up with these gravity wells as well. So I'm thinking a lot of times science keep calling things craters, but I'm not sure that they all are actual craters, right? Like I don't know if it's a gravity well field that shaped the impact place, then I don't think it's really worthy to call it a crater. Yeah, Mount Olympus, that's the one, like the biggest mountain on Mars. And it's kind of neat that it is right at the base of that cube. But yeah, so if anyone's wondering, like, I know there's this one researcher who likes to criticize my work quite a bit, but I actually kind of liked some of the things that he was talking about. I should have kept talking to him, but it was just getting a little bit too stressful for me. But one thing he brought up that really makes a lot of sense is how does this map have any practical use in our day-to-day life? And there's obviously millions of different ways that I think that it could have practical uses, but some of them, to be more specific, is in the olden days, obviously they could use it for ships. So if you were here and you wanted to sail here, you knew that a straight line between the 2 points was the fastest way. So that's why these straight line maps were so popular. And another way that they were actually practical, yeah, fuck man, the most practical one I was just about to talk about, and I forgot it right as, oh yeah, I know what it is. And now it comes to building stuff, and that's why I think Freemasons were so into it, or still are. Here, I'll show you what I mean. You know the ancient pyramids? How some of them have really cool features to them that people can't explain how they figured it out? So I'll type in snake shadow on the pyramid. And I'll bring up an image so we can help better explain it. Alright, this image looks pretty good. And shout out to the person who made this image. Just to give credit to credit's due. Oh, for fuck's sakes, really? No, sorry, I'm just trying to make this image bigger and it won't. That's what she said. Anyways, yeah, so here you can see that when the Aztecs or whatever culture it was that built this, I can't get the Aztecs, Maya, and all those confused because there is a lot of confusion with even scientists about their names. But anyways, so what they did is they designed the pyramid so it made a shadow of a serpent descending the stairs on a specific date, the equinox or solstice date, whatever. So anyways, these equinox and solstice dates, guess how you could calculate these? People have been trying to figure out, like, how did the ancients know where to build this pyramid so it would make this effect? It turns out each of these lines on this globe, especially these ones, like the equator and the tropic lines, like these all match with like regular lines on a map. Here, I'll show you. Not all of them, but near all of them. Whoops. Whoops. Hey, I can remove the status bar. That's cool. But anyways, view status bar grid. Here it is. So I'll take off the blue so it's easier to read. So you can see on a traditional map, the point where there's like the Arctic Circle line, it matches exactly where mine line crosses. Or where, say, the equator or the tropic line. Every time it crosses at a major point, it actually matches these tropic lines, equator lines, tropic line, Arctic Circle line. So these measurement points that I have on the globe, they're just not made up. It actually matches the tropics. And if people are wondering how did scientists measure where these tropic lines are, it turns out they use the equinox and like all those sun features. So wherever the sun is at a certain time of day, that's where they mark the equator. And where the sun is on the equinox on a certain day is where they mark the tropic. So that's where these ancient people were able to use these maps in practical ways, because they could determine where the sun was going to be on certain days just by using these maps. So if you had to make that descending serpent, you could do it with one of these maps. That's why I really noticed it in England, because when they had the lines going across, it was matching the equinox lines. So I was like, oh, that's why it's matching. So say if you were building Stonehenge and you wanted to align it to the equinox, you would use one of these maps. So you could figure out where the sun was going to pass on the certain day and time. So that's what I was thinking, isn't it weird that this gravity well pattern field, if that's what it is actually so closely tied to how the sun works? Which kind of makes sense, right? The sun is definitely a huge heavy object and its gravity will affect everything else. So yeah, that's kind of weird, but at the same time it makes sense. Yeah, so if anyone's wondering practical ways, if you had to build something and align it so that it lined up to the shadows, oh, that's what really makes me wonder too. This island here, Manitoulin Island, it's a place I used to own property. I used to own property actually right about here on the shore. I should have kept that property, but it got Lyme disease really bad in that area, so I was like, fuck it, man. I got to sell it because I don't want to take the chance of getting Lyme. But other people are willing to take the chance, and I go at certain times a year. It is pretty nice. But anyways, this island place, that was one of the things, is they had a prophet a couple hundred years ago who had an encounter with the creator on a place called Dreamer's Rock. I think it's this one here. So anyways, when he had the encounter with the creator, what the creator taught him how to do was build giant totem poles and erect them to the equinoxes. So it's funny that the creator is still teaching people to this day, or in recent times, to use these maps that show the equinoxes and all that shit. So it's weird, eh? Like, it's almost really like the technology of the gods. That's why I'm wondering if we're starting to stumble into like the arch to the holodeck. Sort of like how in Star Trek they had the computer that could control the entire program, or the entire holodeck. So I don't know, maybe like understanding this technology could be very dangerous. Other countries might use it for weapons. I sure hope not. But I'm going to share it either way. No, and obviously other ways that we can use these fields is once we get really advanced technology, like say 1,000 years from now, we're going to want to terraform planets. And if we want to change planets, we could use these gravity well fields to manipulate where we want the land to shape. So that would be pretty sweet. We could actually make continents any shape we want just by like using these fields and knowing how they're going to affect the land. But another one is not only do these fields affect the land, sort of like it pushes iron filings away, it's also guiding evolution. So I don't know why, but whatever animals are within the close vicinity of this field, you can see how it wraps around Australia pretty intensely. This one is the one that results in marsupial life forms. So I don't know like how we could do this on other planets. You could all of a sudden map where this specific field was going to be on the planet, and then you would know what animal life is going to evolve there. So that's where I think we're aliens, if they actually did create the planet like Earth for us and stuff. They not only used the gravity well fields to manipulate the planet into whatever shape they wanted for us, but they could also pick what animals are going to evolve where. So that's pretty fucked up, right? I wouldn't be surprised if the Africa energy field, like say the one the Congo River wraps around, this could probably be the one, like part of the energy field, that's creating humans. So we could be like, hey, if we want to advanced humans on some other planet, we could just make sure that that energy field happens to land on a certain part of land, so then we would know that that's where humans would evolve first. I know it's a pretty wild theory, but hey, most people are still struggling to figure out how evolution works, and this is my best guess. So it would start to explain maybe even the mutations of viruses. Like say if you took a virus and put it here, it would mutate differently compared to if it was here because of the energy field being opposite. I don't know. That's a pretty big stretch, but I definitely don't want to get too much into medical stuff. Holy cow. Yeah, that was quite a bit of information to cover. But yeah, I think that's some of the stuff that I've been working on gravity well fields lately. I'm definitely not getting to the point where I can manipulate them, but just to like track how they work, it's kind of neat. I'm sure there's other scientists that are very close to figuring this stuff out. I hear other ones working on it all the time, so yeah, good luck to everyone. Hopefully we can crack this mystery. No, I'm not trying to take credit for all of it. I've actually started to get help from a bunch of other different line researchers that have done like way more work than me, so big shout out to them. I think one of the map makers, well, I think it was a couple that was working on it before. Well, I know it was, but they got divorced. But I think the name they made it under was Hagen's. So if you want to check out the Hagen's map, it's a good one too. I used to have the Hagen's map on here. I'll have to bring it back. I have it on my other file. No, the Hagen's map looks similar in some spots, but it's a very different pattern, and it doesn't really match up the same way in most spots, but some it does. And who knows, I bet you each map has its own validity. So it teaches some different parts about how the globe works. Well, yeah, and if anyone's wondering how the pole, remember I was talking about the North Pole and how it's split and it moves? Well, obviously the South Pole split and moves too, because it's on the opposite side. So where the pole split moves before on the South Pole is Australia and Antarctica. You can see the giant crack. Here, I'll even put the crack lines on so you can see them. In case anyone wants to see deep into the crack. Right. Oh yeah, Hagen's map. I do have the Hagen's map here. I'll bring it on because I was talking about it. So if anyone wanted to see the Hagen's map, this is one of the other people that works on lines, and they got it really nice. But they have so many lines, and I don't know how they were able to draw them so accurately. Like, their geometry worked out a lot nicer. So I'll have to find out what their secret was, or what measuring tools they used to be able to do it. But you can see their patterns are substantially different than mine. I want to see how it looks on Mars, actually. See how Mars' equator lines up. Now, isn't it funny, once I got into gravity well research, I can actually just look at other planets and know exactly where their equators are without even needing to measure it. Alright, because you can see it. It's in the line patterns. It's very, very evident. Oh yeah, so that'd be another way that you could apply it to something practical, is you can look at where the equators are on planets without even needing to measure the sun. Come on, man, where the fuck is it? Sorry, I don't want to get pissed, but dear God, I just opened that file. Why is it not here? It is here, I just can't see it. It's my fucking stupid concussion symptoms. Oh, there it is. Historic maps, rovers. No, that is not it. Ah, here it is. No, that isn't it either. For fuck's sakes. Oh my God, did I lose the fucking features? It must be on the wrong page. Ah, here it is. Yeah, it's on the wrong page. That's why. Right, anyways. Let's bring back the color features. Oh, wait. I can see a bend here, right? There's one line that's bent. So this line does not intersect with those. So that's a little bit weird. Why is it lagging so bad? What the fuck? I'm running a supercomputer, for God's sakes. That's why I laugh. Sometimes I do this research and I'm like using a top of the line best computer you can get and it still can barely fucking run it. Alright, so let's go back to the equator point on Mars. That has to be like that. There we go. Yeah, see, there's the prime meridian. They actually do have it marked. That's pretty good. Yeah, so it does match up with Mars pretty neat. I don't know, to be honest though, like looking at that one, it's very hard for me to grasp. I find mine is a lot more basic, so it's easier for me to look at. Like, I don't know, sometimes you get to the point where it's like lines everywhere, and it's just too many lines, right? Yeah, so I like that version, but the Huygens map is pretty cool too. I don't want to bash it. No, and it's nice. The lady working on the Huygens map, she's managed to reach me, or I can't remember if I reached her or she reached me, but we did get in contact, so it's pretty cool. And she's an academic with like an actual science background, so I was like, holy shit, it's nice to actually collaborate with real scientists, not just UFO nuts. Not that there's anything wrong with UFO nuts. Now I like a good UFO story just like anyone else, really. I've definitely seen some weird UFOs in my time. Did not explain what they were. They remain unidentified objects. Alright, so if anyone's got any other questions they want to see with the map, or if they want to see other planets, the options for planets we got is Earth, Sky, Mars, and Moon. So we could look at the Moon also if you want. I gotta warn you though, once you see the Moon under this map, you'll never look at it the same way. You'll be like, holy fuck man, how are these scientists looking at the Moon and not seeing the map? No, the main reason is the Moon. You know how it's got these like equator lines that are caverns that usually match up with the equator? You can see that Mars is actually shifted a little bit, where I think before this used to actually line up straight with it, and maybe the peel has like shifted slightly, or yeah, shifted that way. But you never know. Maybe it really did just mean to map this one. And if anyone's wondering if Earth has a similar river system that goes to the equator, it turns out we do. It's the Amazon. It's actually set on Earth right now. Oh, that's because I got this image. This thing seems to go right over even the Earth. Yeah, so you can see there's a river system in the Earth, the same spot, but it's the Amazon. And if anyone's wondering where the Amazon forks and has a huge bend, it turns out right here. So this is where the Amazon forks, and it's funny how it was only off by a few miles, right? It's also the eye of the elephant. I don't know if anyone's ever seen the elephant that our Earth is actually created by. This is the elephant's head. You can see his trunk and how it goes out like that. And this is his eye, and his eye is crying, and the tears are the Amazon River. And the reason the elephant's crying is because he got his head cut off. His head is actually tied to the tail of Turtle Island, and his body is all of this. It's really quite sad. Every time I learned about this, I was like, Jesus, I didn't know our planet used to be a giant elephant. So yeah, that's where his head used to connect, was here. And turns out the Mediterranean is his neck blood gushing out, because this is hot water, and it shows all the hot water just spraying out into the ocean. So that's where the elephant's blood is actually still coming out into the ocean. I know this is all like metaphorically speaking, but like really the ancient legends are so accurate. I'm almost believing them more than our science. No, so that's where the elephant used to live until he got his head cut off and tied to the tail of Turtle Island. It's really a wild history. It was Jacob, one of the First Nations guys, he shared it to me, or shared it to everyone on YouTube. So if you want to check it out, just check out Jacob's tales talking about the First Nations history, about how their people were ordered to cut the head off a giant and tie it to Turtle Island's tail. And it's weird too, because the First Nations people called him a giant, but I don't think they really had elephants around much, right? So that's kind of interesting. Now, if anyone's wondering, like most people think that this continent connects into here, but if you take this, wrap it up here, connect it here, the trunk and all this actually does still wrap around and connect. You just have to shrink the planet. So if you shrink the planet, then it actually fits the legends perfectly. Isn't that weird, eh? It's like we have more evidence of the planet shrinking or expanding. Oh yeah, and when the two poles broke in half on the South Pole, here's the equator line. That's what I was going to show you. Not the equator, but where the continents split. Come on, where is it? I gotta organize these better so I can just click it right away instead of having to look for a fucking hour and can't find it. No, that's not it. Oh, you son of a bitch, man. I read the whole fucking list and it's not on here. It's under a folder called Earthquakes. I must have buried it by accident. Oh, there it is. I'm just my concussion. I'm looking right at it and I fucking can't see it. Right, so there's the plate line of where the crust of the Earth split. And you can see it did join the two continents. You can even see the scratch marks where they like slid out apart from each other. Yeah, you can still see it, right? So if anyone's wondering like how bad the ice age was in different parts of the planet, it turns out that's why New Zealand isn't the most populated planet or island on the planet, because when the ice age hit it, it was fucking destroyed with ice too. And I think that's because the South Pole drifts back and forth between here and here. So once we get the ice age back, New Zealand will be destroyed once again. But hopefully that's not for a long time, right? Yeah, so we used to have a super South Pole where both of these continents were joined together. And that's why we find tropical and ice remains on both. Because both of these locations switch back and forth from being tropical and ice, tropical and ice. Kind of neat, right? And the other port where it's smashed here, this is actually the leading spot for Atlantis. I should show everyone it. It's kind of neat. I don't know if I have the picture. Hopefully I do. Not that I just talked about it and can't show it. Oh, fuck. You gotta be kidding me. Yeah, I don't have it. Oh well. Sorry guys, I'll have to show it next episode. Basically, there's an image that shows that Atlantis used to be here, but when the planet was much smaller. Like when these continents were almost touching each other. And you can see how they actually slid apart from each other, so... This idea that everything used to be closer together on a smaller planet really isn't that far-fetched. But I don't know how hollow the Earth would be if it actually grew that much in size already. We must have a pretty hollow core. Or maybe just the density changed. That could be it as well. Oh, and if anyone's wondering why these two orb points here are from the crust, let's bring the map back. Yeah, it's in between those three all in a row, right? Yeah, so if anyone's in different parts of the world and they want to see what kind of gravity well patterns are near them, there is actually a huge gravity well here that tends to influence the weather a lot. Let's check that out while we're at it. Whoops. I actually wanted to leave that, but oh well. Ah, there we go. Right, so I can turn the weather on and see what the weather on the planet looks like and see how it acts with these gravity wells. So you can see if there is actually a connection to the two or not. Now in North America, it's very evident to see because we'll get the Hudson Bay just getting shit spinning around it all the time. So that one's not hard to believe. Ah, here's another one. You can see the formation spinning around the wall pretty good. Around that one. Now obviously it's not going to occur every time in every place, but you can see these ones will often match. I don't like how they make the clouds so thick you can't even see the yellow orbs. That's fucking annoying. No, but scientists have been trying to figure out why all these jet stream patterns are going where they are and why. I think once they have the gravity well map, they won't wonder as much. They'll be like, oh, that's why. Now, I did speak to a scientist who works on line clouds, and occasionally they get clouds that are such defined lines that they're trying to figure out where these lines are coming from. And it's the same thing with the iron filings. The clouds get influenced to follow these same patterns. Nah, no really good line clouds today, but I have seen some pretty good ones in the past. Usually there's a really good line cloud that extends from this region, but none today. And I've noticed the planet's clouds, they've been really more HD lately, like more clouds. I don't know if there actually is more clouds, or it's just maybe the graphs have gotten better at showing them, or modeling them. Because before, there was actually way, way, way less clouds. Back when I first started researching these. Now, the most cases what you'll see is circular cloud formations, or you'll see a giant bend around a circle. Yeah, it must have been weird, eh? Scientists trying to explain like what was causing these like circle patterns in the middle of nowhere. Because they didn't have the orb map, so they couldn't see where each gravity well was. I don't know, for me, when I look at the gravity well in Africa, that's one of the ones that really stands out for me. Because dear God, you see this one pushing all the land away, this one creating the fucking desert. Why are all the circles not on? There we go. I was wondering what the fuck happened. So anyways, yeah, and you can see the one that bends around the Congo. That's what I love, how all the rivers on these maps always tend to like bend around it. Like the Amazon or the Congo. Yeah, let's look at the Europe one, because we tend to get a lot of viewers from Europe, so let's check it out a bit more. Now, if anyone's wondering how these maps apply to practical things like, say, earthquakes, let's bring up the earthquakes next. Alright, so this one is actually recent earthquakes. So you can see, doesn't look that much like it's mapping up. Well, let's take the historical quakes, and we'll turn those on. So you can see all the major earthquakes in the past. So you can see the spot in Romania where it intersects. There's supposed to be some big earthquakes occurring there again in our near future. There's actually been a chain of earthquakes working their way up towards there through Croatia. So I was thinking it's probably going to happen within the next 5-10 years. Yeah, so the one in Turkey, you can see that right around Turkey, bam, it gets hit bad. The Italy section. Now, and some people have probably noticed too that, oh yeah, around those ones. I'll have to flip the map to a regular perspective, because most people don't like to look at it sideways. Oh, there's that one. No, and plus too, if you take the ancient sites and you turn it on, a lot of them map up obviously as well. Now this region has so many earthquakes that it is looking pretty like crazy to look at on a map, but this is the mountain chain that makes like finishes the X. Yeah, let's turn the blue off. Yeah, the earthquakes tend to line up more with the yellow line, so it's usually fine just to leave yellow on. I don't know why that is, but... Alright, let's look at that again, but without all the blue clutter. Now, if anyone didn't notice, there's like a downward spiral pattern that the Earth creates here. I'm not sure why. Probably because where the crust split. Now in Suki's region of New Zealand, here we can see that section there seems to get hit pretty bad on the line recently. But there's damn so many earthquakes around here, right? Like, here's a good section of 7s. Yeah, and you can see that this ridge where the equator line is, it's pretty much the active earthquake zone, right? How many does the Marianas Trench get? Oh yeah, the earthquakes in South America, they look pretty cool. Here, I'll turn on the blue layer, because this is the one that just hammers the islands. So it's like if you wanted to make somewhere geologically active, like you're terraforming a planet, you would make some land really in the direct vicinity of this energy field coming out, because it's just demoing this place. Like, look at Puerto Rico, how many like small earthquakes they get from the field on that side. It's crazy, right? It's just hammering the island. And it's neat too how it doesn't hammer it on the other side. It hammers it on the side that's more facing the blast zone. Now, one of my friends is actually hanging out in Jamaica, and he wanted me to like show him the lines for all the different areas. And he was saying, like, if this really was a line showing all the different ports, like portalon charts in the old days, then it should match with all the ports. So let's bring up some more of the lines and check it out. So this is the red field. I know the red field is one line pattern I usually don't add because you can see it really starts to make it intense. But for Jamaica's sake, we'll look at it just so we can see. So if you're thinking this was the line map that showed ports in the olden days, do we have any evidence to show that they actually used these lines and landed on ports? Let's look at the port that discovered Jamaica. You know how Jamaica got discovered at one point by, what is it, colonizers? Well, it turns out when they arrived here. And what is it called? It's called Discovery Bay. Yeah, that's why I was getting Discovery Bay mixed up. So it turns out if they actually did follow the map on these lines to find it, it would match exactly where they discovered Jamaica. This was the port of discovery. So isn't that fucked up that it lined up right with that line? And then you go here on this side of the island. What do you know? Another bay and port, the port of Reading. And obviously the whole island isn't ports. There's a lot of them, but it isn't the whole island. And then you go on the other side, what do you know? The place is fucking called Portmore. So a Portalon chart that leads you to Portmore. That's kind of funny, right? Oh yeah, and isn't it neat too how this line separates where whatever that park boundary is? I don't know how they picked that as a boundary, but it's neat how it landed on the line. And how many of the cities are like right on the line. Alright, so is that the last one? Oh yeah, this one. Now this one wasn't a port, I think it was the only one, but it is where a river connects to the water. Or I thought it was. Anyways, well yeah, so maybe that one doesn't line up, but 3 out of 4, that was pretty good. So I don't know if you could look on maps and find out where people first discovered a region. You might find that it actually maps on the Portalon charts, showing all the ports. Alright, so let's turn the earthquakes off for now. That takes up a lot of data. Memory usage. Now there's so many cool things about the Earth that I started to learn when I started working with maps all the time. Alright, so let's bring up some more questions from the audience. I haven't even been checking. Sorry everyone. Holy shit, that was a good vapor hoot. Alright, so we got 1 viewer and 2 likes. Thanks everyone. Shelly's got a swear word for us. No, so I don't know what's going to happen with the future of these line technologies. If it will just remain like ship users using it, people to build with shadows, or if we will actually start using it to terraform planets and guiding evolution. What I'd really like to see, obviously I'm probably not supposed to say this, is we'll be able to use these gravity well fields to not only manipulate animal life, but we'll be able to manipulate viruses. So we could say, hey, if we want to create a certain virus, we can just put it here in this field and it'll mutate. So I don't know if we'll actually take virus manipulation that far so that we can actually cure diseases across an entire planet without actually having to use needles or anything. We could just alter the gravity well fields. But that's probably a really far stretch into the future. Probably thousands of years from now. But yeah, that's what the ancient mystery, or not mystery, texts talk about, is how the gods in the old days, they used to be able to turn plagues on and off with like a switch. So it makes you wonder if the gods really do have this technology already. I wouldn't be surprised. They could probably like turn AIDS on or off, but who knows. Now, if anyone's wondering how I got into making these maps, is when I had my serious concussion, all of a sudden I got interest in making them. I know some people think it's weird, some people get interest in music when they have a concussion, other people get interest in like, I don't know, art or something. For me, it was gravity well maps. I don't know why, but it was. So I kind of figured some days getting a bad bump in the head sucked, but at least I got something good out of it. Most people look at this map and say it's all so crazy and there's no actual real science in it. And I can try to explain to them till I'm blue in the face that I didn't really make up any of these lines. These are all just normal points that are already mapped on a map, but I just drew the lines connecting them differently. It's like same points, they're just full circle lines like the equator, like the ancients used to do. I don't know why we stopped using equator lines when we started making modern maps, because I kind of like these older map styles better, but to each their own. Modern maps must be good for something, and that's why we switched. Now what freaks me out too is when I turn just the yellow one on and I go to this side of the planet and I started to see how much of the landmass was like lining up, right? Especially the Australia one. I was like, holy fuck, that's really weird. Now, if anyone hasn't heard like the ancient legends that talk about these trees and cubes being everywhere on the world, they used to call it the world tree. And people would laugh. They'd be like, what did you think? The earth was flat or something? But no, I think this is what they were referring to as world trees. Here, let me bring up an image of the world tree as an example so I can show you what I mean. Yeah, see, in the old days, they would draw this, and they would say this was the world tree. And you can sort of see the cube in it for the Norse version, right? So when they said that the world trees existed, I think that's what they're referring to. Not some like giant flat earth tree or something, but actually these gravity well fields. Now I'd like to look at how their lines matched up too, now that I have to like make corrections to mine. But I do like the Norse one the best, because it actually shows the cube better than mine, or these other ones. It's hard to make out the cube in these ones. Yeah, and we'll see what other images of the world tree I got, if we got some good ones. Yeah, and shout out to everyone who's made these images. I know I don't give proper credit to all of them, so I at least try to credit it to some degree. No, I used to have some good images of the world tree, but apparently I didn't save them. Oh well. Doesn't really matter. I can bring up an image of the Norse tree. It's pretty common. Alright, we'll have to be careful because Wikipedia, I've noticed, sometimes has stuff that can get your channel banned from YouTube. So I'll have to be careful while I check this. Alright, so anyways, here's what the other world trees used to look like from when people in ancient times tried to describe it. They used to draw it like that. That's kind of fucked up. But when you think, if you didn't have Google Earth, how the hell were you going to draw it, right? No, the world tree is apparently a representation of the tree with the snake from the Bible. The two winged bulls, you probably heard about me talk about it on Clone Evolution a million times. This is the symbology for the metal ox that transforms. And the transformation is the metal part. It's to do with the ritual of the world tree. The one for immortality. Yeah, so you can see that this world tree is like popular in Georgian mythology, Hinduism, and Indian. That's basically the, what you call it, the Aryan stuff that Hitler was researching. So that's forbidden. Don't look at that. North Asia, Siberian, they had the same thing. Romans had it, the Greeks had it, the Norse had it, the Judeo-Christians, the Iranians, Slavic, Baltic. Oh, my favorite one, actually it doesn't even list the best one out of all of them. Go figure. It's the First Nations one. I'll bring that one up. Now, sorry for not sharing the First Nations stuff. I know a lot of times First Nations people have the best history and it's banned online. So I'm like, what the fuck? But I found out it's actually part of their culture that they don't like to share their history. So not to say that all of them don't. Like each person's obviously an individual. Some people will like it, others won't. But yeah, so the First Nations talk about when every generation will come back under this sacred tree again. And the whole world will be one again. So that's why I worry about the world sometimes, and other times I'm like, don't worry. The sacred tree and this whole technology, it's going to come back one day. We won't always have like chaos. Things will get straightened out eventually. And it's going to be a bit of a bumpy ride along the way, but hey, at least we got clone evolution to enjoy while we do. Alright, so hey, Dave Wixon. Oh, he's listening from Brantford. That's cool. I'm not far from Brantford. I'm in the Kitchener-Waterloo region. No, Brantford's actually a place I like to go often because they have my favorite disc golf course, the Mohawk disc golf course. It's the one that I got my first hole-in-one. So I'll always remember that. It's Mohawk Golf Course. Yeah, that's the one. And it's free if anyone's ever tried it, or if you haven't tried it, it's worth checking out. Yeah, let's check out the Brantford area. Now, if anyone's wondering, my region is Kitchener, so if you're ever trying to track the weather for if my show is going to be canceled due to weather or airing early, just check in the middle of this giant landmass. It's basically where I live. So that's Kitchener, and there's Brantford where the other viewer is. So this is the highway that I usually take to get there, go through Cambridge. I think it's called Highway 24. Could be wrong about that. Now, if anyone wants to see, let's see how the ancient sight lines lined up with Brantford. I wouldn't mind to actually see that. Yeah, the trees are so nice at Mohawk because when you throw the disc, the odds of it making it all the way to the top of the tree and getting stuck is very slim because the trees are fucking giant. There's almost no way you could even throw it to the top. So even though you're playing in a forest, you still don't lose the disc. Whereas other forests that are smaller, yeah, you'll lose the disc easily. What the fuck? No, oh, there it is? Yeah, there it is. So it turns out, when I first made this map, here I'll show it to you guys. Let's turn off blue as well. When I first made this map, like after I got my concussion and I started to work on it, this was the lines I was working with to start. Here, I'll show you. Where's the folder that I just clicked? That's not it. Alright, so let's turn them all off except for the one I started with. Fuck, which one is it? Ah, there it is. So one of my friends, Julie, who does research in Montana, she realized that there was an ancient sight line on this part of the planet. So I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And let's move the Great Line into here too. Just gotta delete some of that, make it better. There we go. So I was like, hey Julie, that's pretty cool that there's a line like this. And I was like, wow, what happens if there's another line? So I started looking online and I found out there was a video about another line that people discovered. And it turned out to be this one. I put it in green and called it the Great Line. So if anyone's wondering what connects on the Great Line, let's start off. And you can see that the Great Line actually has a bit of a bend in it too. So that's what I was thinking, like, when people say that these lines don't need a bend, some of them actually do have a legitimate bend to it. But anyways, Easter Island is where it begins. some say, well, obviously a line around the planet could begin and end in multiple places. But anyways, it goes through there, and then it goes through the Great Pyramid in Egypt. It actually goes right through the center on mine, because I wanted to try to make it as accurate as the video says. So you can see, well, it should be over a hair, but it's supposed to go right through the center of the Great Pyramid. And then after it goes through there, you have to go speed up to Asia, and then it goes through Angkor Wat. I'll have to type it. Yeah, let's do it that way. We'll start off this way. This line, I forgot. I'm doing it the stupid way. Sorry. I always do things really dumb first, and then I'm like, holy fuck, that was dumb. Alright, let's go for the Great Line and actually show you animation style, how the line works. So first we'll go with Easter Island. So I can click Easter Island Chile. Boom, boom, boom. And I'll zoom right into it. So there you can see animation style, where the first spot is on the line. Then the second spot is the Great Pyramid. Yeah, Giza, the Great Pyramid. So we'll go to there and hit the animation button. Do-do-do-do. There it is, the Great Pyramid in Egypt. And next we'll bring up the next spot on the line, which is Angkor Wat. Yeah, I always have trouble spelling that one, but we got it. So, what do you know? There's Angkor Wat. See if I got it? Yeah, right through the center of the temple. Here they spell it differently. They put a W-A-T, but when I type it in here, it's V-A-T. So I'm not sure why there's two different spellings for it, but you can see it does sort of match the landmass in a way. So anyways, and then it wraps back around all the way, well, I guess through New Caledonia. Could be some sort of ancient site there. But then back to Easter Island. And you can see when the guy that calculated this line and said it was perfectly straight, yeah, it is pretty close to perfectly straight, but I noticed there is quite a bit of wobbles to it. So I don't know which is wrong. Is the line really not straight, or is it just the way Google Earth maps it? See, that's where I'm starting to try to figure out which is right. But anyway, so I had that line to work with from watching a video, and the line that Julie shared with me. And I'll show the spots that Julie's line goes through so everyone gets an idea of why she thinks hers is special too. I agree with her that I think it's special. Alright, so let's bring up Julie's line and show where it goes through. Ah, come on, Julie's line. Where are you? No, it sucks because I put it in a folder with so many other similar images that when I go to find it, it's like my concussion, I can look at right at something and not see it. So if it's hidden with other images, dear God, it could take me like an hour to find it right in front of me. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so this is Julie's line here. The one on this, and you can see on this map they draw it as like a perfectly straight line in that direction, but when you map it on like a round globe instead of a flat plane, then it looks like this, where I'll show you Julie's line, the mega line. Nope, not the line. Ah, here it is. So that's her line there. So that's the first two lines that I had to go with when I started working on this. And I'm like, it's not really much to go with because both of these lines are kind of a little bit wobbly. Except for the purple one. I think it is actually true. Let's check. Or does it have that same wobble? Yeah, it's pretty true. Yeah, so hers goes through a whole bunch of temples and a whole bunch of islands. Just same way, in a similar way that the green line goes. And then when I started to check the ancient lines on the east coast of the continent, this is the next line that I had. So at this point, I had all the other lines of the globe turned off, like the equators and everything, so I didn't really know anything about where the lines were going to match up. So that's basically where I had it there. And I was like, oh shit, this is a cool pattern, I'm done. That's it, it's done. But then I was like, wait a minute, what happens if there's another line and I just missed it? So what I was like, okay, fuck, let's turn on the equator and see what happens. So I turned on the equator, and that's when I realized that the tropic lines is where the purple intersected, like very close, right? So I was like, oh shit, there is another line, and it's the tropic line. So that's when I started to realize that I had to fill in the rest of the map, right? Yeah, so that's when I realized that, hey, there was a center line in between these. And then I started to map other like cities in Canada and stuff. Let's map those next. I'll take off the regular ruler because we don't need it anymore. So then here's another one for Canada viewers. The Toronto line, the Washington DC line, the Ottawa line. And it's neat too. When you map Ottawa and Washington, guess where these lines map up? People might know the one in DC because it's pretty evident. But this one people probably haven't heard much about. It's a giant obelisk that we built in Canada, and we called it the Peace Tower. So the Peace Tower actually is part of the line grid, which I found that funny, eh? Just like the obelisk in Washington, D.C., which we'll check out next. Yeah, and you can see how a lot of the cities match up on it. I don't know if any did here. Not really. But anyways, let's check out the one in Washington, see where it goes through. Here it is. Look what it is. The Washington obelisk. So whoever Freemasons or whatever that are going on these line maps, they definitely know where they line up because they're putting the obelisks there. Yeah, and then you can sort of see like Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Washington. It was kind of like Detroit, all in the same line pattern generally. Oh yeah, and then when you take it out to Canada's west coast, you'll find that Edmonton, Calgary, even pretty close to Vancouver. More so for Victoria. Yeah, Victoria's the one. So Calgary, Victoria, Edmonton, they all line up on that map. So that's where I started to realize that I'm getting like two different maps, and we'll put both of them up. So what I realized at some point, you take the map that I made, like the more modern one that matches today's Earth, and then you map the one that the Freemasons and the Ancients were using, and they're only slightly off from each other, right? So I was thinking, what happened in the Earth's past, why it shifted, and how did the Freemasons know the old pattern so well that they could align all the obelisks to them? It's kind of fucked up, right? Now some people might look at these two patterns and say they're not related at all, but when I put them overlapping each other, I was like, hey man, sure they're not identical, but to me there's definitely enough similarities where like, hey, we should look into this more. So yeah, if anyone's wondering how the ancient sites line up compared to on this map, they do line up, but you have to switch it to the old pattern. So I don't know why the old pattern switch matters. And I was thinking maybe if the Earth shrunk slightly, then that's when these would line up. I was thinking that's what could explain it, right? So who knows when the last time the Earth actually grew was. Yeah, so I was like looking at that, like, Jesus, how could that be so close yet have no relation? I wish the two maps lined up. Like when I was drawing them, I wanted them to line up so badly, but I had to draw them true. So I was like, hey, that's how they are now. That's how the old pattern is. And compare the two, not try to hybridize them into one, which was very tempting to do. So isn't it weird how you can actually come across this gravity well pattern on the planet just by looking at ancient sites? I didn't even really need modern maps at that point, although modern maps did help quite a bit. Like once I had the tropic lines and the equator lines, I was like, oh, now this is easier to fill in. So this makes me wonder too. Remember how I was saying when I was doing the cube parts of the map, there was a little bit of wobble in some parts? So I was like, maybe this is where that little wobble comes in. There is like a slight variation to the two maps. You can wobble between the two. Who knows, like if it's an energy field that's fluctuating, maybe it's actually both fields and it hybrid or it pulses between the two. That could be what it is. Fucking A, like that even crossed right at that point too, huh? You can see the gravity well orb, how it made the bay. It's pretty funny, huh? And most people look at the bay and be like, oh, I have no idea why this bay is here. Another one. No, really, it could be another reason that the bay is there, and this map has nothing to do with it. Just seems like a coincidence. You can even see the rings around it. Yeah, so if anyone really wants to make the map from scratch, here's some clues on how you can start making it from scratch if you wanted to yourself. Just take the ancient site lines, map those, and then once you have those, you got like 90 or at least 20% of it to get you started. And who knows, it could be just my mistakes somewhere. Like I'm definitely not perfect at making these maps and I make mistakes all the time. So that could be another reason why there's such a variation between the two. I definitely wouldn't be surprised if that was part of the reason. That's why I hope one day I'll meet someone who's really good at using Google Earth and they'll be like, hey man, I could help you make the map. I'd be like, holy fuck, yes! Yeah, so I think for the next few days, when our next few sessions I work on the map, what I'm going to do... Oh, Sault Ste. Marie. Yeah, Sault Ste. Marie is one of my favorite locations. I've actually taken a train trip there once into the heart of the Thunderbird. And if anyone doesn't know, I'll cover that legend quickly. Or I shouldn't call it legend, history. Now, I find it kind of offensive when people call other cultures' histories legends. So I try to refer to it as history rather than a legend. But anyways, yeah, so the Great Lakes bird, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but the Great Lakes are actually shaped in the same shape as the Thunderbird. And it turns out the Thunderbird has a heart, and the heart just happens to be Sault Ste. Marie. And they say the reason that the people are the nicest in the entire country in Sault Ste. Marie is because they are in the heart of the Thunderbird. And the Thunderbird's heart is good. Let's hope. So anyway, sorry for sharing the history if I know a lot of people like to keep it secret. But anyways, yeah, so we were talking about sacred geometry, the giant star. Oh yeah, Sault Ste. Marie. Well, that's what I did is I took a train trip in Sault Ste. Marie and we went to Algoma Canyon. Let's see how to say it. Algoma Canyon. There we go. So this is where I took a train trip. Oh yeah, it's right here. So I got to see I was walking around on this shore. I think I smoked a joint somewhere around here. It was hard to find a spot to smoke a joint because there was like a whole bunch of border security cops everywhere. because the other side is the States, right? So I was like, holy fuck, it's hard to find places to smoke weed. That was back when it was still somewhat illegal, but I had like the medical permit, but I didn't like to argue it with cops, so I would usually just try to hide somewhere when I smoked it. But anyways, yeah, I took a train tour, and it went up north all the way into the canyon. And fuck, man, is that canyon ever impressive. I haven't actually seen it on the map. But wherever the canyon is, it's like the Grand Canyon, except in Canada. So they have a huge canyon up here. I should see where it lines up on the map someday. Alright, so yeah, let's check out where the lines are in this region. Yeah, so Sault Ste. Marie, close to that region. Yeah, if anyone wants to see a really funny coincidence that has to do with Canada, take that ancient line, the one I was talking about on just a few minutes ago. Where is it? Dum-dum-dum. There we go. So take the Draco line, the one that I like to research on the East Coast. And the reason I research it is, or started to map this one, is here. Canada has a Stonehenge, and it happens to be right here. One of Canada's Stonehenges. It's actually this whole region right here. So I was like, isn't that funny that our Stonehenge is on the line? It actually is bent a little though, I can see. But anyways, that bent line that goes through the Stonehenge happens to go across some islands here. And one of them happens to be Flower Pot Island. So if anyone's heard of this, we got giant statues that are natural here that happen to look like the, can you tell what they look like? The statues on Easter Island. So let's follow this line, see where it goes. Even the island is shaped like a turtle, or not a turtle, a frog. But anyways, you take this Flower Pot Island near Tobermory, and Sudbury also lines up, but you type in Easter Island, see where it is. Ta-da! Easter Island. So isn't it funny that those Flower Pot Island statue things in Canada are on the same line as the ones on Easter Island? And I took images from the shore to compare the two, and I made one. We'll see how it looks. Now this is probably one of my most favorite ones. And I stopped sharing it for a while because I actually didn't have the old map still. I deleted it for a while, and then I went back to another computer and brought it back because I was like, hey, this old map is pretty good too. But let's see if I saved it on this computer. Hopefully I did, not that I just talked about it and can't show it. Oh, you son of a whore. I've got all the fucking images saved in here except that one. You gotta be fucking kidding me. God damn it. I hate how I sort images. I lose them every fucking time. Every time. If I go to save an image, it's as good as gone. Alright, so I'll have to just grab it off Facebook. Sorry, it'll take a few seconds, but I'll fucking grab it. I'm not gonna hold out. I'll get that fucking image. You just wait. Alright, so in order to get the image, you can just go to my Facebook group. If anyone hasn't joined it, here I'll show it to you so you can check it out. Hopefully there's no pictures of boobs anywhere. Yeah, I don't think there is. Alright, yeah, so you can join my Facebook group and get the latest information on memes and gravity wells and different cool researchers that work on ancient mystery stuff. See, Ramses had more than one plague, right? We have to remember that. Alright, so anyways, I'll get the Easter Island image. Now, I've done a few podcast interviews with people, and I've got the archive in there too if you want to check it out. Ah, there it is. My favorite. Right, so let's compare the two. Dear God, man, just looking at that gives me the fucking shivers. Like, I really can't believe, like, when I seen that they both lined up, and then I compared the shorelines, I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. But anyways, let's look at it. Not that I hyped it up so much, now it sucks balls. Let's see. Downloads, where are we? Right, be careful opening files in there. Right, there we go. So there's the shore of Easter Island, and then there's the shore of Manitoulin. Oh, fuck, my chat's blocking it. You son of a whore. God damn it. See how big we can make it. There we go. Instead of complaining, I'll just find a way to fix it, right? Alright, there we go. So you can see when I compared the two shorelines, and to see how they lined up, I was like, oh my god. Like, these statues aren't identical, obviously, because one is natural and one's man-made. But it was like if these people had that line map, and then they actually made these on purpose to match, they did a fucking great job. Like, I don't know. Like, even how the nose sticks out, eh? They got it, like, matching the same angle. Even the slant, on the slant that the nose is, it's like on the same slant. Even though the head is sort of like flat on the top, they got the flat top head thing going. So it's like, dear God, what a weird coincidence. But yeah, that's one of the weird coincidences that you find with these maps. So I figured I'd share it. Man, how true did we get this line? It has that same weird wobble, but almost perfectly straight. So I don't get it. What's with that weird wobble? I wish it was just perfectly straight. I would love to say that it is. But damn close to straight. That's what she said. Sorry. Couldn't resist. Yeah, so there we go. Can you imagine though? Dear God, I wish these lines would have mapped all perfectly together. Then it would have been such a cool project. Having that slight difference, but does add a layer to the mystery. Why are the two maps different? And only by such a small amount. Piss me off. Hey, George Washington's here. Oh, Dave Wickedson wants to know whereabouts does it go through Mexico. Yeah, let's check it out. I think at one point I drew a line on this like purple version that goes through Mexico City and goes all the way through the, what is it, the Stonehenge in England. But I don't have that one mapped right now. So let's map it and we'll see how it turns out. We can add a map as we go, or a line. So I'll show everyone how to do the maps. Let's just go on center screen so you can see my actual tools I use to make it. In case anyone actually at home wants to make their own. And if you do and you want to share the file with me, that'd be great. Then we could compare the two. Alright, so in order to make this, you'll have to go and pick the ruler tool and then pick path. I think. Let me make sure. I haven't made one in a while. Oh yeah, it is path. Obviously you'd want to pick line, but for some reason line doesn't work to do this. So you have to pick path. Then you have to pick where you're starting from. So we'll start from Mexico City. But let's try the original capital of Mexico City. Tenochtitlan. There we go. So this was the original capital of Mexico before the Spaniards captured it. So that's what will make the capital. Tenochtitlan. No, some people believe that this was the city that Enoch built, and that's why it's named after him, T. Enoch Titlan. But it's a bit of a stretch, to say the least. I like it, but still a stretch. Come on, why am I not able to put... There we go. I don't know, I think if there's too many things nearby you're clicking... Oh no, there was one. So first you put a dot down, and then you have to make the next dot and drag it to where you want it. So let's make the next one Stonehenge in England. So we'll drag the line from there to there. So Stonehenge Visitor Center. I don't actually know where Stonehenge is on this map. No, Stonehenge is kind of neat, but I usually just research the one in Canada because it relates to me more, I find. Oh, there it is. Alright, and then once you do that, then you'll have to make the other points and try to get them to be all straight. Which, I don't know if anyone knows a way to do this faster instead of manually. That'd be great. It'd fucking save me hours of work. So then what you'll have to do is pull the next one and try to keep it straight. Normally what you can do, if you really want to keep it super accurate, is have a measuring point. So you know a spot that you've measured to from before that you know is actually straight, and then just measure it to there. So then you don't have to free eye it each time. I know I'm tempted to move it to this one and just call it straight, but too much of a bend already. No, too much of a bend there. Yeah, so I think here is actually the straight point. Pretty close. Now, as you can tell, the longer you make the line, it does make it easier to tell if it's straight because you can like zoom out and see if it's straight. And then obviously you can mathematically calculate it too. Like you can use measurements of where established points are on the globe and just measure where the next point will be. That's probably what I really should be doing instead of just free eyeing it so often. Now what I did for my map, the modern one, is I made all the yellow lines actually measured. So then when I measured from those, I could say, hey, that's actually measured off the real globe. So should be as accurate as it can be. Alright, so that would be roughly the Stonehenge, Mexico line. Then when you click save, it'll then ask you what colors and size you want to make the line. So we'll make this one purple because it's that theoretical ancient line system. I don't like to put it as blue or yellow because I'll get it mixed up with the ones that are actually measured. Right, and we'll make it 4 so that it's a little bit wider and you can see it. So that's the ancient version of the Mexico line. Well, let's check out the actual real one. The one for today's map. Oh yeah, and then once you have the file, you have to drag it and put whatever folder that you created for these. And for me, what did I name these? Come on, move the map. For fuck's sakes. Oh god, dragging the wrong thing. Anyways, I'll move and sort it later. I really shouldn't do that because, yeah, I'll fucking forget. Alright, where is it? I just had it open. Ah, here it is. Why it wasn't still open, I don't know. And I'll name it too. I'll name it the Mexico to Stonehenge. So I guess arbitrarily, you could just start picking ancient sites and making lines. That's why I don't really like to do that too much and just go with the actual measurement one. So let's go with the actual measurement one. We'll turn off the theoretical ancient one. And let's bring back yellow. And let's put on red just for interest's sake. See if it matches Mexico. Yeah, it's too many. Red off. Alright, so there's the intersection point, Mexico. It's a little bit north, or closer to Tizyayuca. But yeah, definitely not far from actual Mexico City. And then where would this blue line go? It goes through the city of Poza Rica, Hidalgo. It goes through Tulan, Inco. And I think it cuts across through Florida, probably part of the Bermuda Triangle. Oh, it goes through Freeport Airport and the Grand Bahamas Islands. It parallels the islands. That's pretty cool. That needs a little bit of adjustment. It should be down there. Anyways, yeah, so this line goes through here. It ends up in... What are these islands? Oh yeah, the Canary Island chain. And it crosses them. Then it hits the orb in the Sahara Desert. Eventually goes through Chad. Looks like an orb around it. Now really sometimes you have to zoom in before you see what major cities it is on, but I don't see too much in Africa there. Let's see, is it mapping any river systems? This mountain chain. Alright, it passes these islands. I've never heard of these islands, but they look pretty nice. What are they called? Fortune Bank. Then we come to New Zealand, or not New Zealand, Australia. And it reaches this point. I don't know what's at this point. If anyone's been to Australia and they know what's here. The Lakes Nature Reserve. So whatever that is. Not surprising to find lakes there. It centers these ones, whatever else is here. Kind of like a circular lake system around it. I'll have to tighten that up. That's a lot of little mistakes. You can see when you zoom in, you can really make those lines tighter and tighter and tighter. And to do it for each one takes forever, but it's kind of worth it once you do it. Right, it also goes through these islands. And boom, all the way back to Mexico. And then the other line is the one that Julie talks about. The one that goes across that way. So we covered what that all goes through. A bunch of ancient temples near Alaska too. Alright, so let's close these so I can actually see what the hell I'm doing. There we go. That's better. I don't know how the circles keep getting turned off. I must have turned them off at some section. No, and drawing the rest of the circles is really taking forever, and I really don't want to spend too much time drawing them because I'm going to have to change their colors all soon. And size probably too. I might leave the size the same and just change the colors so that the certain orbs that make up the cubes will be a certain color, and then the other ones will be a different color, so it'll make the cube stand out more. I don't know, when you put the cubes next to each other, it's kind of easier to see them. Let's go... Yeah, I'll put it on the screen next to each other so you can actually see the two. For God's sakes, man, I just opened this folder how many times and they won't put it in the frequently used. Oh well. Yeah, so what I do is I always lose folders and files and images. God, I lose everything. So unorganized. No, the worst is I'll forget what even image I'm trying to open by the time I find it. Alright, so it should be under Pagan, I think. That's what. Oh, for God's sakes. Is it really not here? You son of a whore. Let's try this. Oh my God, it isn't there either. You fucker. I just had that image on the screen and I lost it. Oh, God damn it. That really pisses me off. Oh, here it is. Good. Yeah, let's bring... I wish I had just the Norse one, because these other cultures one doesn't help, and I got to get it off the screen. Fuck you, man. Why would you do that, you son of a bitch? Just stay the way I had you. Alright, there we go. Oh my God. Now it disappears. There we go. Oh my God. Stop fucking readjusting. Alright, so there you can sort of make out the cube shape, or the world tree image. Fuck, I'm getting cold. Hopefully it's for breakfast. No, I have been streaming for like 2 hours, guys, so I'll wrap this up, but it's been a while since I've been able to share information on this, so it's been kind of nice to have an audience for a change, too. Most cases, I'm just talking to myself. Alright, anyways, go figure. Nothing new there. So yeah, that's the World Tree Cube, or Norse, Yardasil, or whatever other culture. Each culture has their own name that they call it. But I think it's pretty neat, eh? I could be wrong that this World Tree stuff is way off the mark, has nothing to do with it, but I don't know. To me, I think it is at this point, so that's why I share it. Alright, so I got to wrap this up, but yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Let's give a shout out to everyone who's in the chat today. I think this is the biggest chat we've ever had for a Gravity Well episode. So I really appreciate it, everyone. That kicks ass. Most times it's just me for this. I know maybe once I get better at presenting the research, it'll be able to hook more people, but really I'm not good at presenting it yet, so I still got a lot of practice to do. Alright, so let's see. Who do we got in the chat? Lelanders Kid Shelly. Yeah, Shelly's a viewer from some of the other video game content that I do, so I'm glad she tuned in. I appreciate it. Thanks, Shelly. Alright, who else? We got Ruben Brand. Thanks for tuning into the show. Dave Wicketson. Thanks again. Oh yeah, he's from Brantford, so another fellow Canadian. And George Washington. Yeah, thanks again for joining, George. He's the guy who's always killing the super chats for my channel, so big shout out to George. Alright, so yeah, let's show what else we got for my channel. We got the patrons. If anyone wants to help out with that, Suki, Jim, Ray, Travis, and more patrons have joined. I'm actually going to add the other patrons to the list later today. So we'll do that. And we got the affiliate links. Patreon, Society 6, finishing quick is my specialty. It's a saying I put on t-shirts and bed sheets, both popular with the ladies. Hideout TV, pays you to watch videos. Swagbucks, to shop online. GameKit, to try games. And free Bitcoin is a wallet system for cryptocurrency. Yeah, if you're looking for a wallet for cryptocurrency, you can't go wrong with free Bitcoin or BetFury. Just make sure that you follow all your regional laws, like age and if you're allowed to use crypto. Especially the laws with the virtual mate sex machine. It's for adults and men only. But ladies need a sex machine, they know who to call. Just kidding. I'm in Canada and we're stuck under lockdowns for 1.5 years now. But anyways, yeah, so the virtual mate gave me a coupon code exclusive to the show. If you want $10 off on a purchase of 150 or more, just make sure you use that. Dear God, my eyebrows are all over the place. I just noticed that, sorry. Alright, anyway, so let's go to the fire screen. Alright, if you happen to get any gravity wells in your fires, or gravity well fields in your vaporizer and it tastes like shit, give the show a dislike. But if it doesn't happen, you can give it a like, really appreciate it. And
just make sure never buy the products from my sponsor, because it will ruin your life. Bye for now, everyone. See you later.
I didn't even do the sponsor message, so I'll do that now. It's kind of weird to do it in opposite, that's just how I roll.
Alright, today's late sponsor message is brought to you by Crunk. Crack, it'll fuck you up. Woo!
Alright, bye for now, everyone. See you later. Have a good weekend. And yeah, I'll be doing some Clone Evolution shows later, everyone. So don't worry. I won't wait too long to do them. I'll probably go eat breakfast, move my uncle, and then do it. Alright, see you later. Bye for now. Oh, yeah, we forgot to give an applause for everyone in the chat, too. Give a big round of applause for them. Later. Alright, yep. Gonna go eat. Thanks, dude. See you later.